which is highly unusual for me. Being I'm in the Cornhusker state, I'm not a Cornhusker fan. But I got a red t-shirt on. It's from our GoFundMe page. Me, Dennis Bennett, and Ken Bretz are on a scooter cannonball team called Fat Jesus. Anybody that's in the community of Excelsior Henderson knows about this. If you go to GoFundMe and you want to make a donation, just search Team Fat Jesus and it'll come up. We're now selling these t-shirts. And I really like the logo. I don't know if I'm a fan of the red, but that's up to the individual, I'm sure. And they're $30 delivered to your door, and that's where we sit on that. We're going. I wouldn't be trying to save this oil if it wasn't for the fact that it's so expensive. And I just changed it not 100 miles ago, like I said. So I'm gonna put it in here. Put that there. See if I can get this out of here without spilling. I changed these out. These are normally button heads. I put regular Allen head in there because I hate button heads, and especially on Excelsior Hendersons, you're going to find that they strip really easy, especially if they've used some orange Loctite on them. These here are supposed to be button heads too, I believe. It's been so long I don't remember anymore. All right, what I'm doing here is I'm taking the cover off the clutch adjuster. The clutch adjuster is this here. And I got to take it off. I got to take this clutch adjuster off to get the primary off, because this is all ran by that's graphite. What's that doing there? Anyway, I got to I got to undo this. Now, if I don't do that, you can't pull the primary out. You got to get these two nuts off. That's all there is to it. And that's a 1/2 inch. With a flathead screwdriver. There you go. And you're going to have another nut inside. This is the lock nut that holds your adjustment when you put it on. And then you run this all the way in so that nut pops out of there. And then your clutch and adjuster will be free. Well, your clutch or or adjuster, whatever you call it, will be free of the primary case. There you go. The slave cylinder, bleed it and make it work again. I spent 2 hours bleeding it, and then the next time it'll bleed within 15 seconds. No, I'm not doing anything different. It's just one day it's good and one day it isn't. Some X's are bleed clutch slave cylinders really, really easy. Some do not. Mine normally does not. So I'm leaving this on. And then I'm going to take a piece of wire and tie this primary case just up here so it sits. It'll be out of the way for what I want to do. And anything you want to do, stator, transmission, clutch, or the pickup tube. For all three of those items, you can just, it's going to be out of the way. You'll see. Kind of fun exploring with you guys with on my X. I'm finding issues that I didn't know I had, like that plug. Jeez. And I found out my front jug's got a oil leak, which I've known about actually for a couple years. It's never been bad. It's just weeps and drives you crazy. That one was loose. That's not good. These T-handle, if you don't have T-handle Allen wrenches, get yourself a set. They're not all that expensive anymore. They used to be pretty pricey. Man, they were good. And I'm going to try and salvage this primary case gasket under here. I've got a couple extras. I don't have the nice fancy one. Jamie and Marty started selling a double line of silicone already on them that was just handy as all dickens. I really liked them. I did screw up. My first time I took a primary off is this bike. And I used silicone to put them back together. Now there's nothing wrong with putting on silicone on gaskets. It's just that when you do them on these, you don't want any of the silicone to fall in the oil. And I did. And it took out both my oil pumps. And when that happened, that's when I had that huge puking issue I may have talked about earlier. I had just a horrible puking issue. It wasn't the normal Excelsior Henderson. It was like dumping all the oil, except for 1 quart apparently. That's all I had in it after a test run when I thought I had it fixed. Dribble, dribble. There's going to be oil in there. What happened is those 2 oil pumps, there's a scavenge and there's a pickup, or a pressure pump. They both got scored from that silicone riding around the oil. And because of it, it started pumping air. Because it's pumping air, they're shoving all the oil out. It's not good. All right. Now, part of the stator is a magnet that mounts on this primary right about here. No, the magnet mounts on the crank, actually. The stator mounts on the case. And this case pulls hard off and goes on scary hard. If you're not used to it, it'll actually bite your fingers if you're not prepared for it. Now, the way I usually do this is I get something long handled. Almost had her. That's magnet I'm fighting, folks. Got her. All right. And it survived. Cool. What's the tight one? What's this? And a piece of wire. D-Twin Club, which was an old Excelsior Henderson club, they loan out tools. I don't know if Jamie and Marty do, or if Mike Seastrom does, or any of that, but let's put it this way. You need these tools, it's just 2 of them. Holler, I'll loan it to you. As long as you pay for shipping, I'll get them to you. So, back to this. You gotta get this stator off because this tool first. This is the tool that will remove this stator rotor. You gotta take this bolt out and then you screw this in here, and this is a beveled shaft, and this will push on there and it'll just pop this off with very little effort. It'll pop it in. All right. So you get this gear off, this stator comes off, or the rotor comes off, the ramp drives come off, the clutch basket comes off. This is how that comes off. Remember the tool for this, and then you got this peg wrench here for the ramp drives. That's a peg. There'll be a nut behind here. Make sure you remember which way that nut came off, because it goes a certain way. If it's on the wrong way, it won't work right. This is your clip. You got to get out. Put rags in these gears, either bottom or top, wherever the potential for push is that you need. You can put them in top or bottom. They come up. The rags come out easily. You just shove them in there. I can show you that. That's really a simple trick. Take your rag and shove it in there, and then you can attack your nut or your ramp drive cover or whatever it is that you're trying to get done. It'll stop the gears from turning. Once all the nuts and the ramp drive cover is off, rag comes right out. It doesn't leave any residue, it doesn't leave a mess. No big deal. It's not scary. Back here is the transmission. You can see the housing for the transmission. It's a cassette type system. It's all aluminum. You can see these nuts back here. All right, so you got all this done, and you're ready to start pulling the transmission, but you can't yet. You're gonna have to loosen up the rear axle. That's done here. That's the lock. This is the tightening, loosening, and you're going to have to loosen up the axle besides the tightness on the belt. So this belt comes ahead nice and loose. You're going to have to take this top muffler off. You're going to have to take this header pipe off. This one here. This one's held on with 2 bolts. You got 2 hose clamps, one here, and then you got two nuts at the head. One on each side. I believe they're 1/2 inch. An extension on a 1/4 inch with a wobbly. It's no big deal. It works really good. So you got to get them off. And the reason you want to take this off is we're trying to get this cover uncovered, because this is where the drive sprocket is that runs the belt. You want this all loose so you can get the drive sprocket off of this shaft. If it's all tight, it's not going to come off. So you got to get that all loose. As you can see, there's a nut bolt here. There's another one down here. There's another one here. You can't get this sprocket, this drive sprocket, off with this header pipe in the way. You have to pull this off to do that. Last but not least is this shift lever. My shifter is, if you remember in previous footage or accompanying footage, my shifter let go. I lost some splines in it, and so that's what I'm waiting to get that fixed too. But here's the shift lever that comes out of the top of the transmission. Right there, see how that's moving? Okay, you got to get this lever off, and to get it off, you got to get an Allen head right in there. And I hope I show that. Right in there. And it's going to be a little hand type. A T-handle kind is not going to work. It's too big. But a little hand one will work fine. And you can do it from this side if it's not really tight. If it's really tight, you're going to have to start it off of this side and just stick it in there. Stick it in there and just get 1 good or 2 good bites on it, and then you can do the rest from the other side. You're also going to have to take apart your oxygen sensor, and it's always hiding under the battery, something like this. What you do is go in there, and it's usually laying right there, and that's the connector for it. Right there. Do that, undo that connector, and that oxygen sensor will come off with the header. And I think I said it, but I'll say it again. It's 2 half-inch nuts. Wobbly on a 1/4 drive will work just fine to get that off. So you gotta get the header pipe off, muffler off, cover off, heat guard. Gonna loosen up the rear axle. Get it loosened up so the belt's really slack, and then you have to get this off. There'll be a nut on here, and it's a good place to throw a rag in on one of those gears over there on the other side again. And it's going to have a bendable lock washer on it that locks that in position. Just take a screwdriver or whatever and tap it down flat so that nut will turn and spin right off. Okay, if I remember more in the transmission, I'll come back to that. Because I'm not happy with what's going on in here. I really didn't think it was going to be that big a deal. Now I got into it, I'm not happy. So I'm going to take this case off, and I got to get all this off, which will give you more exposure to see about replacing your stator wheel and all that, the transmission removal. I was kind of being lazy, but then again, I wasn't. The part where I wasn't being lazy was the fact that my back's killing me. Oh yeah, they're all right over here. So now you take your rag, you put it on the other side, and that's going to stop that from spinning. And with this tool, if you remember, this tool here is going to pull this wheel off. If I can get the right socket. Of course. That's simple. It's a crazy tool. It's got very limited use, but I don't know what else, how to get that off of there. I suppose a puller could do it if you could figure out how to way to attach. I don't know what it is. All right, next is the peg wrench, if you remember that. This here little guy. And inside here is the drive ramps. Get a cheater. Talked to a guy and he said hardening, case hardening is actually a pretty simple process to do. So my thoughts are, why go from scratch to build these when we could just case harden these? But maybe there's some other process in there I don't understand that makes it impossible or can't do it or whatever. I just don't know how all that stuff works. And these guys, if you lose these guys, they are in here in a special order. So don't let them just fall on the ground and then just shove them back in here, because they are loaded. As you can see, there's a gap there. If you put these guys in wrong, the compensator's not going to work right. The torque compensator or ramp drives, whatever you want to call them, they're not going to work right. All right, so I got everything out of the way here. I'm not going to go any further deeper here because it's clear of the inner primary case. Goodness sakes. If I didn't edit that right, I used 2 thin screwdrivers to get that snap ring off with. My multiple sets of snap ring tools just didn't want to fit. Okay, so here's your clutch. Starting of your clutch, pulls and disengages those discs and all that good stuff. Now I gotta get this out of here. I might have to put the gear back in. Alright, this is a sprag clutch. You don't put this back right, you're going to take this all apart. This only goes one way. You're going to take everything apart and do it again. Because that sprag clutch only goes in there one way. Got it. Woohoo! That's a small victory. Jeez. If you remember, I said we got to remember which way this nut goes back on. If you put it on wrong, you're going to screw stuff up. Because there's a shoulder on one side of it, and there isn't on the other. Also, this basket, this clutch basket, will just fly into all of its pieces if you don't handle it right. And believe me, that's no fun trying to figure out which of those discs go where, because they're kind of in an order. So we'll get that all done correctly. As you can see, there's a little bit of a shoulder on there, and on the other side there isn't. There's no place to put a shoulder on there, and I don't know why they make this so specific. but they do. Ooh, owie, 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 that hurt. As you can see, this shoulder doesn't fit inside this washer, so it's not the right way. That is, away from that washer. All right, and I also, if you noticed, I had to get the towel or the rack back out of here that was holding everything so I could get the nut off. I had to get it back out because I couldn't pull the clutch basket out. Now, the clutch basket will from here, if you're going to change the clutch out, separate off of the flywheel. It's not a true flywheel, but it's a big gear that goes on the transmission. You pull all these discs out, and there's some bolts behind there, and that's what attaches it to this. All right, so we're at a point here. It's kind of interesting. For newbies or anybody that's interested. Don't have to be a newbie. Here's your transmission. This is it. To pull the transmission from here is you got to go to the output sprocket side, which, if you remember, you got to take the sprocket cover off, the top exhaust off. Well, in order, it'd be top exhaust off first, and then the sprocket cover, then the sprocket, and then you have to go to this thing here, this shift lever here that's attached to the top of the transmission right here. Where is it? No, it's attached here. And undo an Allen head that's kind of hidden under the battery. It's a little tough, and it's small, short swings and everything, but it's doable. It's not horrible. It's all doable. Get all that done, then you take these bolts out. And these are the bolts that hold the transmission in here. And the whole thing just comes out in one big sheet, one big piece. It's kind of interesting, kind of cool to watch. It's fun to do. I've done a couple of them. I've gotten down where I can take these down. I don't know if I can anymore, but when I was doing it somewhat regular, I could pull a transmission in about 2 hours. Now, I expect somebody new and green and cautious and everything, it's probably going to be an all-day affair, and I understand that. Putting it back together, about 2 hours. A new guy